on days
Ma'am,
before.
our lobby is secure right now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public apparel.
I need to get in.
Oh boy, here we go again. So a running theme that we love to cover on this channel is, of course, the ridiculous and performative antics of Democrat politicians, and apparently in their head, what they define to be an effective political resistance, right? It's as if these Democrats are always in this running loop of how do we recover our atrocious 27% approval rating, and they're all sitting in a board, and it's all just like complete idiots saying, hey, I know, what if Cory Booker gives a 24-hour filibuster speech against nothing? What if Hakeem Jeffries gives a 12-hour sit-in protest at the U.S. Capitol on a Sunday when nobody shows up, nobody cares, and it proved absolutely nothing? Greta Thunberg today, I think, is a prime example, although we are going to dedicate likely our own video to that, so I don't want to get too much into how she sailed into an Israeli naval blockade, knowing there was a naval blockade, and then pretended she was kidnapped when the IDF basically deported her and told her to go back. Apparently that proves some type of gigantic grand point about, again, performative protest. But ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to these ridiculous antics, I do not think there is a better individual to represent the failing, geriatric, and ridiculous, right, comical state of the Democrat Party than none other than Representative Maxine Waters, who seems to have this running obsession with trying to go into federal facilities when she is either not allowed in or the facility is closed, and then absolutely fuming after they tell her, hey, you can't just walk into random buildings whenever you want. Of course, before we get into today, I want to reiterate, right, this is a running theme because she's doing this again. Who can forget earlier this year, her absolutely ridiculous attempt to storm into the Department of Education and making a complete fool out of herself after they basically told her, no, this remains to be maybe my favorite video of 2025 of all these Democrats. So brief memory, because I just love playing this, frankly.
Look them in the eye. Come on, hold your face up. Look at him. Let him see you. This is him. Look at it. What's your name? Tell us your name. Give me that ID again.
Giving you the ID, I showed it to you.
So what?
I showed you the ID.
You do what?
I showed you the ID.
Could you let me see the ID again?
No.
Huh?
No.
No? Will someone else ask him for the ID? Will you ask him for it? He won't let me see it again. You didn't see it. You didn't see it. They didn't see it.
Folks, if you enjoy the content, do us a favor. Make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe if you are new. You subscribing to the channel ensures that we can keep bringing you these videos, including the ridiculous reactions here to Maxine Waters, who... this is what she does, right? Like I said, perfect representation of the Democrat Party. She is 86 years old, geriatric, completely out of touch, obviously, with the American people, but forget all of that. Just the pure optics of, she apparently forgot her hearing aid that day, so she's trying to storm into the Department of Education like, what? What? Sonny, the phone's ringing. That's the Democrat Party. You wonder why there's so many geriatrics at these events. This is like who they represent, apparently, but nonetheless, okay. So that, of course, brings us to the current situation of the ICE protests and riots and everything that's currently going on over in Los Angeles. And you probably could expect, in fact, you probably know, that Maxine Waters was going to make an absolute fool out of herself doing the exact same thing, because apparently one time was not enough. After being massively ridiculed for her stunt at the Department of Education earlier this year, okay, and that was something you noticed. Even it kind of felt like even Democrats were not trying to hype up specifically. This was not exactly a famous video in Democrat circles. Why? Because they humiliated themselves, right? Everyone was simply laughing at them, but still as stubborn as ever. Recently, over the weekend, you may have seen that Representative Maxine Waters once again tries to do the same thing at the ICE detention facility in downtown Los Angeles, and newsflash, it doesn't go so well for her, because once again, she gets rejected at the door and utterly humiliated, and somehow, guys, Democrats think this is winning, right? That's probably what she's saying in her head. She's like, look, if I show up and they don't let me in, then that's a lack of transparency. You know, they're going to look really bad. This is going to look authoritarian. It's like, no, the whole world is laughing at you, Maxine. Okay. How to, make any situation just worse for your party, which already I would say right now is pretty bad. Check it out right here, guys. Again, amazing video this weekend as Maxine Waters, joining in on the ICE protest, does what she does best, which is getting rejected at the door and having a geriatric meltdown about it.
No, I want you to, hello, Congresswoman Waters. I just came to use my congressional authority to check on David.
Ma'am, the lobby is securely now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public appeal.
I need to get in.
What are you hoping to do, Congresswoman?
I just want to see David Werta. Right, 6, 7, 8.
Would a congressperson normally be able to enter the...
Normally, yes.
What is happening here?
Well, there were some of the authorities, I don't know who they were, and I'm trying to get in to see David Werta, who they have arrested. He is the head of SEIU local union here. I don't know why he was targeted. I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't know whether they're going to deport him. I want to report back to my caucus about what's happening, but they have... No, I want...
The most legendary video, guys, and legendary picture, by the way, of 2025 right there, right? As if the first time at the Department of Education, there wasn't already, that guy standing outside the door. Look at that. Look at that. Brilliant. Boom. Bye, Maxine. Now, we got a lot more to talk about in this video because after this, right, we got to show you Maxine Waters' ridiculous reaction to it all because, you saw a glimpse of it, but she's already fuming. But before we get into that, I certainly think that everything this weekend goes to show just how unpredictable the state of the world can be sometimes. And in unpredictable times, many say it is never a better time to invest in stable assets like gold and silver, which is why we have a word from today's sponsors. Today's sponsor, Gold Mining Inc., is trading within a few cents of its 5-year lows set during the March 2020 global panic. Again, the market cap of this company today is approximately the same as it was in March 2020 when the global economy was in full disarray. Gold's price was less than $1,500 per ounce, and people were glued to the TV screens, scratching their heads. Yet today's gold price has more than doubled, and GLDG's share price has barely moved at all, and this is the reason I am showing this to you right now. As of June 5th, Gold Mining Inc.'s market cap is approximately $154 million with no debt and $144 million in cash and equity holdings based on cash balances on February 28th, 2025 and closing prices on June 5th. Gold Mining Inc. owns approximately 79% of U.S. gold mining and just over 12% of gold royalty. Translating here, 9.9 million shares of U.S. gold mining are quoted at $94 million US, 94 million. 21.5 shares of gold royalty are quoted at $44 million US. Cash and equivalents is $7 million. And so the total there, including other equities, is $144 million in those cash and equity holdings. When Gold Mining Inc. originally acquired their dozen or so gold projects, the peak combined market caps of the companies that held them was approximately 850 million Canadian dollars, which from 2010 to 2012 was much closer to par with US dollars than today. The combined peak market cap was calculated based on each respective company's peak share price during the period prior to the acquisition, as you can see right here. Remember that Gold Mining Inc. owns approximately 79.3% of U.S. gold mining and 12.6% of Gold Royalty Corporation, so you're instantly getting exposure indirectly to two additional gold companies. Gold Mining Inc. is currently trading for 78 US cents right now, which is near its 5-year lows. Once I account for Gold Mining's cash and publicly traded stock portfolio, the company's dozen gold properties aggregating of 12.4 million ounces of gold equivalent, estimated mineral resources in the measured and indicated categories, and an additional 9.1 million ounces of gold equivalent in estimated mineral resources in the inferred category. These are all, by the way, guys, value priced in the backdrop of record gold prices. Yeah, just don't act like you didn't know after the fact. Gold Mining Inc. owns a dozen projects containing an aggregate of 12.4 million ounces of gold equivalent estimated mineral resources in the measured and indicated category, and an additional 9.1 million ounces of gold equivalent estimated mineral resources in the inferred category. Gold is now trading at near all-time highs, while Gold Mining Inc. is near its COVID-19 lows. Gold Mining Inc. is down approximately 70% from its 5-year high. Gold Mining Inc. still holds one of the largest portfolios of gold resources among junior explorers in the Americas, and it's steadily fast advancing those assets. In a rising gold environment, this portfolio of assets can offer leverage to the gold price. So are you positioned in this market? We're still in the first inning of the gold bull market, and there's still plenty of time to get aboard. So I urge you to do your own research. This is not financial advice. Always consult your advisors and trusted professionals, but do your own research on Gold Mining Inc. now. Again, guys, listed on New York Stock Exchange as GLDG. Okay, circling back here in the words of Jen Psaki. We have Maxine Waters literally doing the Chris Van Hollen thing, right? She shows up at this random detention center without an appointment as there's chaos and, rioting basically going on outside all around the city. And then she's like, hey, I need to be let in. They're like, no, literally, what does he say, right? You need to make an appointment. And then after that, right, because, she knows what she's doing. She's just showing up here uninvited, just demanding. I mean, I don't know what she expected to happen. She knew this was, but then they shut the door. And somehow, right, they think, the party here seems to believe these are good optics for them. That's what the American people want to see. They're being widely criticized. Why is their approval rating so low? For being an useless, ineffectual party based on performative and clownish antics. And somehow, boom, is going to save the situation for them? I'm not exactly sure. But with that in mind, so after or before or whatever, at the same day, the same time where she was hilariously rejected entry from the ICE facility by that absolute legend, now Maxine Waters, like the bitter seether she is, stands outside this federal facility and is just verbally harassing the National Guard, right? She's just like, screw you guys. This is so bad. And once again, Democrats want to ask the question how this 86-year-old geriatric engaging in this nonsense is a good look for you, right? Somehow they think, by the way, rioting, I think on a bigger picture, but nonetheless, check it out for yourself.
Yeah, done. What are you going to do? You going to shoot some kid who's afraid of you and run? You going to shoot an elected official? If you shoot me, you better shoot straight. I don't know why you're in my city. You did the governor was not contacted. This is Trump and his outrageous attempt to not only target our sanctuary city, but to frighten us and intimidate us. This is wrong, and I hope that none of you will use those guns to shoot anybody. There's no reason to shoot anybody. Don't allow them to make your service in a service where you're killing people. Don't do it. Defy them. Don't shoot those guns for anything.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as you can see, she's basically there screaming into the void. Like, nobody cares. Nobody listens to her. It's kind of funny. Even a lot of the Democrat activists around, I mean, one guy says, thank you, okay. But a lot of the other people are not even paying attention to Maxine, right? The other activists protesting, they're chanting, they're saying their own things. Nobody cares, okay? Nobody cares what she has to say. The National Guard are just like, oh God, here this crazy lady goes again. But apparently, guys, this is what, Democrats consider to be political activism. Okay, that's good optics for her, screaming into the void. So with that in mind, the Maxine Waters meltdown will go on here to continue for the next several hours. And I want to show you here, as in a post interview after, she's fuming about the fact that she got denied in, like Chris Van Hollen. Hey, you want to make an appointment first? No walk-ins. Yeah, they're not allowing walk-ins by the Congress. Oh, that's authoritarianism. Take a listen here as Maxine Waters fumes about many things, but also largely, I would say, exposes the Democrat Party's actual agenda by stating and demanding here. And this is what it's really about. We know this is what it's really about, right? Demanding that the United States give citizenship to the illegal aliens and rioters currently going out in Los Angeles. Yeah, I mean, that's the plot, don't you say? But check it out.
Stop here where the guns are. I want y'all to take pictures of these guns and let people know that they're in our city with guns, and I'm sure they have orders to shoot and kill. I don't know, but otherwise they wouldn't have guns.
One question, Representative Ms. Waters. If there's one...
Oh, breaking news, guys. Law enforcement or similar people, military, anyone brought to restore order, they carry guns. Maxine Waters is learning this for the first time. Look at that face.
Statement that a message that you can send to Donald Trump. What is that message here today?
My message to Donald Trump is you are a cruel human being, and that you are using the poorest people in the land, the most vulnerable people in the land, to promote your politics. You are wrong. We know what this is all about. We have people who are immigrants here who are trying to seek a better living, who have come from places where they have experienced this kind of thing that he's doing here today. People who work every day, people who are paying taxes, who are raising their families.
Wait, but what's the problem? I thought there's no such thing as an S-hole country. Remember that? Remember they got mad at Trump for saying that other countries around the world are you-know-what holes? So what's the issue? I mean, why would they even come here for a better life? I thought America's like a racist, evil dictatorship. So I don't understand on both levels. Why would they leave if the rest of the world is so amazing? And why would they stay here if America's so bad? But anyway.
Supporting education. They should not be treated this way. They should be given an opportunity to tell their story, whom they are, and why they're here, and ask the United States to please do what the Constitution allows us to do, and that is give them consideration for having citizenship here.
Well, yeah, I mean, she just said it right there. She wants to give these people citizenship. So as Democrats try to rebrand themselves, as they try to talk about how, we need to figure out why we lost the election, we need to introspect, we need to do better in the future. Some Democrats are saying we need to re-embrace common sense, we need to become more moderate and all that. Let that be, going into the 2026 midterms, the top shining political statement. She's not the only one, by the way, but you have plenty of Democrat politicians cheering on what was happening in the streets right now, but further saying these people deserve citizenship. So juxtapose that, right? The guy with the Mexican flag burning the cars, burning down the city of Los Angeles. These are hardworking Americans, guys, and they all deserve citizenship. And by the way, the border, same thing, right? That's what the Democrat Party is still to this day about. And it's hilarious how in the couple months, between the election and inauguration, they talk so much about how maybe the party needs to be a little less radical. Maybe even Tim Walz went out and said, maybe you're not a crazy person for actually caring about the border or seeing it as a serious issue. Maybe we should have actually talked about it. It only took a couple months into the thing for them to do a complete 180 and now go back to their old ways. And I don't think people should forget that. Amidst the ridiculousness of the rest of it, right? I showed up and I didn't get allowed in and I got totally humiliated and I look really stupid, but forgetting all that comical BS aside, there's a very serious point in that. Now, with that said, the lunacy here by Maxine Waters does not end, because in the last video, actually, we covered the way in which the Democrat narrative completely fell apart over the weekend, because we kept being told, right, these are mostly peaceful protests, everything is fine, isolated pockets of violence is not a really big deal. And then we talked about how on Saturday and Sunday night, you had the LAPD police chief, Los Angeles police, going out and saying and admitting actually that it's not fine, right? The situation is out of control. LAPD is overwhelmed. That completely rejects the Democrat Gavin Newsom, etc., Maxine Waters narrative that the National Guard is not necessary, right? They don't need to be there, etc. So in response to all of that, again, LAPD admitting we don't have it under control, which implies, hey, the National Guard is actually, in this case, justified. And yes, the protests you're seeing are not isolated pockets of violence. They're very serious and crazy riots that are, again, here out of control. Maxine Waters goes on CNN to now suggest that the LAPD chief is just making things up, saying there's been no physical violence in the LA riots. No physical violence. I would play the videos as we always do, right, showing the receipts, but I'm going to assume here the CNN B-roll, as you can see on the side of the screen, already does that for me. But nonetheless, okay, here's the quote. There has been no violence where anybody that was protesting hit anybody, shot anybody, threatened anybody. Nothing has happened. Of course, we have the infamous videos, right, of, them throwing rocks at the police cars. You have, of course, the infamous videos of fireworks. Okay, fireworks, rocks, Molotov cocktails. Apparently nothing is happening. No one's even been threatened, guys. No one's even been threatened. You, of course, have like Democrat city councilwoman in Los Angeles threatening ICE. Apparently nothing is real. Because you know why? Maxine Waters, at her 86-year-old geriatric status, apparently forgot it all. But take a listen here to this ridiculous and unhinged interview on CNN that ensues with the ailing grandma herself.
And the LAPD police chief, Jim McDonnell, says the level of violence he's been seeing across Los Angeles, in his word, and I'm quoting him now, is disgusting. Given that, why shouldn't the National Guard be involved?
Well, I was surprised at the way that the police chief was describing all of this. There had been no violence where anybody that was protesting hit anybody, shot anybody, threatened anybody. Nothing had happened. And so he doesn't know what to do, probably, because this is a sanctuary city and the police don't have the authority. All that he's got to do is work with the governor. The governor was not even called when he sent in the National Guard. The mayor was not even called. The president is initiating this purposely. He knows what he's doing. If he was, thinking, well, first of all, he started all this with the targeting, all of the migrants in the way that he's doing. And so, if we had people who were working together and cooperating, the governor would have been contacted, the mayor would have been contacted, and they would have said to the police, whatever the sanctuary city is, if we need to undo that at this time so that the police will have the authority, we can do that. But no, the president doesn't want that. He wants to use his power, and I am predicting he will go so far as to create martial law.
I just want to point out, and I'm sure you know this, Congresswoman, there has been some violence in the course of these protests. Some police officers were assaulted, and some vehicles were damaged in the process. So there has been some violence out there, right?
Well, the thing about it is you may have people, one or two or a few people, who will not conform. That happens everywhere. That happens in our workplace. There's always someone who does something. But we are saying to people, don't be goaded. Don't be goaded into a confrontation. Don't be goaded into violence, because that's what Trump wants. He wants the violence so that he can send in the military and create martial law. That's what he wants. And if a few people were doing that, I've not heard of anybody being shot. I've not heard of anybody being killed. I've not heard of anybody being beaten. So I don't know what all this so-called violence is all about.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California, thanks so much for joining us. And when you get back out there, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Well, Maxine, I'm pretty sure, first of all, that violence can take multiple forms. Just because the things you described have not happened yet, even though, unfortunately, it's trending in a certain way, does not mean that nothing has happened at all, right? That's just pure stupidity. Oh, there's no violence because someone hasn't been unalived yet. What kind of statement even is that, right? But of course, there you have her in the beginning of the interview saying there's no violence, nothing has happened. It's literally what she says, by the way, nothing has happened. She proceeds to go on this blistering rant, seemingly confusing the LA police chief with Donald Trump, or maybe intentionally conflating the two, right? Trying to make the argument it's only like Trump in DC who sees the situation out of control. Because as I said in the last video, that is a severe shot in the heart of the Democrat argument when the Los Angeles police chief, the local officials in the Democrat city and county where this is happening, when even they say it's out of hand, it's not a peaceful protest, etc., right? But of course, when confronted by Wolf Blitzer, she's like, look, a few things might be happening, but, it's just nonconformity. Some people won't conform, but it's really not that big a deal. But Trump's going to do martial law, guys. Okay. So, while other Democrats like Gavin Newsom, as we talked about in the last video, have already moved on from this argument, right? They're no longer saying that it's peaceful, it's violent. Maxine Waters, at 86 years old, is a little geriatric, a little bit slow. She hasn't really gotten the memo yet in terms of party messaging. So, she's still saying on, as after everything that's happened, she's still saying it's peaceful, even as CNN's abandoned it. The whole party, they're now shifting to saying, yes, it's violent, but it's Trump's fault. Not Maxine Waters, right? She's about 80,000 years behind. Nonetheless, you can see at the moment she appears to be having a total mental breakdown, as reported by Sarah Fields. Maxine Waters is actively hiding replies on her official government account. Her account is considered, because it's a public account, a public forum under the First Amendment. The Supreme Court has clarified the First Amendment restrictions on blocking or deleting comments apply when a public official is using their social media in an official capacity, which, as you can see here, right, that is the case of Maxine Waters. She's using her House Judicial, not her personal Twitter or X account, but the official government one, right? And blocking people, hiding people's comments, as you can see right here, right? That's been a thing that's exposed, as Sarah Fields points out. So apparently, after everything you saw on Sunday, where she was widely mocked, criticized, and ridiculed, they want to shut it down, right? They want to censor the talk of Maxine Waters being a complete idiot. Not sure that's going to work, guys. I would have to venture to guess here. A ton of people basically saw through exactly what it was, and yeah. Even the Democrat activists next to you in the video we showed earlier, we're not taking you seriously when you tried to storm into the federal facility, and then we're like, phew. Anyways, nonetheless, though, continuing the trend here, and hilariously, despite the way in which she utterly humiliated herself, it would appear here today, guys, that Maxine Waters has actually inspired a number of copycats, right? Similar types of these like performative, ridiculous antics where you try to break into a building and they tell you can't come in, and then you say, oh, I'm being persecuted for this. Because a group of Democrat members of Congress just today at an ICE facility in California, led by Representative Judy Chu out of California's 28th District, tried to do the exact same thing, and watch as they completely melt down over a single chain lock, as you can see at the bottom there, a single chain lock on a gate. Okay, so as if the first time around they didn't look stupid, take a look at what they're doing now.
I am here at the Adelanto Detention Center, along with Congressmember Gil Cisneros and Congressmember Derek Tran. We have the right to conduct oversight of this detention facility, but as soon as we drove up, they actually put this lock on this gate and on that lock so that we could not even get in and exercise our lawful duty. That's not right.
These people can't even be real, right? They put a chain link on the fence. They lock the fence at a facility. Oh no! This is unlawful, guys. This is authoritarianism. Aren't you all so scared? Look at that chain link. It has chains and links and everything. This is Project 2025. This is what the MAGA Republicans are trying to do to America. Utterly ridiculous. This video might actually be more ridiculous than Maxine Waters. Because at least Maxine Waters made an attempt, okay? These just tough, warrior fighter Democrats, they show up here, they see a single chain link. They don't even think to ask or call someone, hey, can we come in? Or no, none of that, They're just, they're skies. Democrat Party 2025, stopped by a single chain, as you can see. Really locked it so well, by the way. This is authoritarianism. This is what authoritarianism looks like right here. See that chain? See the links? Chain and link. You can't spell authoritarianism without chain and link. You can, but well, let's think of something there, right? They're so ridiculous. So yeah, glad to, I guess that's a silver lining, right? Maxine Waters is indeed inspiring a trend of Democrat politicians to humiliate themselves even more, make themselves look more stupid, and I'm all here for it. Okay, it's entertaining to say the least. One of the most ridiculous videos I've ever seen. All right, with that said though, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.